For decades, Africa has been largely dependent on foreign nations for its defense capabilities, relying on imported arms and ammunition to sustain its military needs. But now, a major shift is underway, one that is sending shockwaves through the global arms industry. Ethiopia, a country with a deep-rooted history of resistance against colonial forces, has taken a bold step by joining Burkina Faso in producing and exporting its own ammunition. This move signals a growing trend of African self-reliance and military independence, challenging the long-standing dominance of Western and foreign arms suppliers. So why is this such a big deal? What does Ethiopia's move mean for the balance of power in Africa? And why are global superpowers suddenly so concerned about the continent's growing military self-sufficiency? Stick around as we break down this groundbreaking development and explore what it means for Ethiopia, Burkina Faso, and the future of Africa's defense industry. Ethiopia's game-changing decision. Ethiopia has taken a bold step in the global arms industry by launching its own ammunition production and export. This move challenges Western dominance and marks a significant shift towards African self-reliance in defense manufacturing. Following Burkina Faso's lead, Ethiopia's decision signals a broader trend of nations reducing dependence on foreign arms suppliers. The Ethiopian government sees this initiative as a strategic effort to enhance national sovereignty, strengthen its defense sector, and drive industrial growth. Historically, African nations have relied on Western, Russian, and Chinese arms imports, often facing high costs and restrictive agreements. By entering the ammunition market, Ethiopia is reshaping its military capabilities while fostering economic development. This move also has geopolitical implications, potentially shifting alliances and trade dynamics in the arms industry. As more African nations invest in defense manufacturing, they gain greater control over their security and economic policies. Ethiopia's entry into ammunition production sets a precedent for others seeking independence in military procurement. Ultimately, this decision represents more than just military strategy. It is an assertion of economic and political autonomy. Ethiopia's ambitious move challenges traditional power structures and positions the nation as a leader in Africa's defense industry evolution. Ethiopia's growing military industry. Ethiopia has long maintained a strong military, but recent investments in defense manufacturing have taken it to a new level. The Ethiopian Defense Industries, EDI, has been expanding its production capabilities, now manufacturing firearms, armored vehicles, and ammunition. By localizing production, Ethiopia aims to reduce reliance on foreign suppliers, lower costs, and enhance national security. This move aligns with the government's broader economic strategy to boost local industries and cut imports. Ethiopia's entry into the export market indicates confidence in the quality and competitiveness of its ammunition. The country has been developing its industrial and technological capabilities for years, ensuring its products meet international standards. By establishing itself in the global arms trade, Ethiopia is strengthening its position in the defense sector. Experts suggest that Ethiopia's ammunition production could soon expand to advanced military hardware, including drones and missile systems. With rapid industrialization and growing military ambitions, Ethiopia is positioning itself as a key player in Africa's defense industry. Its commitment to self-reliance and innovation indicates that its defense sector will continue to grow, potentially reshaping the regional security landscape for years to come. Burkina Faso's role in pioneering ammunition independence. Burkina Faso, a West African nation, recently made headlines by announcing its ability to manufacture and export ammunition, previously reliant on Western imports. The country has now taken a significant step towards self-sufficiency in military production. This move marks a strategic shift in Burkina Faso's defense policy, aimed at strengthening national security, reducing dependency on foreign powers, and fostering local economic growth. The decision to develop domestic ammunition production stems from the need to equip its security forces adequately amid ongoing regional threats. By investing in local production facilities, Burkina Faso ensures a steady and reliable supply of munitions while also positioning itself as a key player in West Africa's defense industry. The government has emphasized that its production will not only serve its military, but also support regional allies facing similar security challenges. Burkina Faso's initiative sets a precedent for other African nations seeking to assert their sovereignty in military affairs. Ethiopia has already followed suit, signaling a potential shift toward greater continental independence in defense manufacturing. If this trend continues, Africa could witness a growing network of nations collaborating on military production, reducing reliance on external suppliers. This development has broader geopolitical implications, as it challenges the long-standing dominance of Western arms suppliers in Africa. With more countries like Burkina Faso and Ethiopia investing in local defense industries, Africa's security landscape may evolve toward greater autonomy and self-reliance. Geopolitical implications: a shift away from Western control. The production and export of ammunition by African nations challenge the long-standing dominance of Western arms manufacturers. The West has traditionally supplied weapons and ammunition to African nations, often with political conditions attached. With Ethiopia and Burkina Faso stepping into the industry, African nations can source their ammunition from within the continent, reducing their reliance on Western suppliers. This move is likely to upset global powers that have long controlled arms exports and use them as leverage in international politics. For decades, Africa has been seen as a lucrative market for arms exports from the United States, Europe, China, and Russia. These countries have used arms sales as a means of influencing African governments, often tying weapons deals to diplomatic, economic, or military agreements. However, as Ethiopia and Burkina Faso establish themselves as ammunition producers, this power dynamic is beginning to shift. The West is concerned that if African nations become self-sufficient in defense production, they may also start forming independent military alliances. This could weaken Western influence on the continent and change the global geopolitical landscape. Some analysts predict that Western nations might attempt to counter Ethiopia's ambitions through economic pressure, diplomatic maneuvers, or even indirect intervention. Economic benefits and industrial growth. The production of ammunition is not just a military strategy, but also an economic opportunity. By manufacturing their own ammunition, Ethiopia and Burkina Faso are creating jobs, developing skilled labor, and stimulating local industries. This shift can lead to increased foreign exchange earnings through exports, making defense manufacturing a lucrative industry. It also allows African countries to reinvest in their economies instead of sending billions to foreign arms suppliers. Local ammunition production contributes to technological advancements, workforce training, and infrastructure development as Ethiopia scales up its manufacturing capabilities. It is likely to attract investment from other African nations looking to purchase locally made ammunition. This could boost regional economic cooperation and create a supply chain that benefits multiple countries. Furthermore, Ethiopia's move aligns with broader African Union initiatives to promote industrialization and reduce dependency on external markets. If Ethiopia succeeds, it may inspire other African nations to invest in defense production, creating a continental shift towards self-sufficiency in security matters. Western reactions and possible consequences. The West is likely to respond to Ethiopia's decision with caution and possible opposition. Western nations have historically maintained control over arms exports to influence geopolitical affairs. Ethiopia's move disrupts the status quo and could lead to diplomatic tensions, economic pressures, or even sanctions. Furthermore, Western arms manufacturers stand to lose a significant market share as African nations begin to develop their own supply chains. This could lead to lobbying efforts within Western governments to counteract the rise of African arms independence. There is also a concern that Ethiopia's ammunition exports could reach nations or groups that Western powers do not support. If Ethiopian ammunition ends up in conflict zones where Western interests are at stake, it could escalate tensions and lead to accusations of fueling instability. However, Ethiopia seems prepared to navigate these challenges by establishing transparent export regulations and forging alliances with countries that support its military-industrial expansion. If managed well, Ethiopia could emerge as a major arms supplier within Africa without provoking direct confrontation with Western powers. Regional and continental impact. Ethiopia's ammunition production could have significant implications for other African nations. If successful, it may inspire other countries to develop their own defense industries. A self-reliant Africa in arms production could lead to stronger regional alliances, improved security, and reduced external influence in military affairs. Additionally, Ethiopia's production capabilities may allow it to support neighboring countries with ammunition supplies, strengthening its regional influence and partnerships. This could reshape security dynamics across Africa, with nations looking inward for their defense needs instead of relying on external powers. Countries such as Nigeria, South Africa, and Egypt already have military industries, but Ethiopia's entry into ammunition exports adds a new layer of competition. If more African nations follow Ethiopia's path, the continent could establish an integrated defense manufacturing network that reduces costs and enhances security cooperation. Challenges and risks. Despite its strategic benefits, Ethiopia's venture into ammunition production comes with significant challenges. Establishing a sustainable production system demands substantial financial investment, technological expertise, and strict quality control measures. Any shortcomings in manufacturing could lead to unreliable ammunition, undermining military effectiveness and national security. Another critical concern is the potential proliferation of arms in the region. Without stringent export controls, Ethiopian-produced ammunition could end up in the hands of insurgent groups or illicit markets, escalating conflicts in already unstable areas. This risk necessitates comprehensive regulatory measures to prevent unintended consequences. Moreover, Ethiopia's decision to expand its defense manufacturing sector could strain diplomatic relations, particularly with Western nations. Countries opposing arms proliferation may impose sanctions, trade restrictions, or diplomatic isolation to curb Ethiopia's ambitions. Such measures could hinder economic growth and limit Ethiopia's access to international markets, technology, and military partnerships. Balancing national security interests with regional stability and diplomatic considerations will be crucial. Ethiopia must ensure responsible production, strict oversight, and compliance with international arms control regulations to mitigate risks while strengthening its defense sector. Without careful management, the country's pursuit of self-sufficiency in ammunition production could bring unintended security and political consequences. A bold step towards self-reliance. Ethiopia's decision to join Burkina Faso in producing and exporting ammunition marks a pivotal shift in Africa's defense landscape. By reducing reliance on Western arms suppliers, Ethiopia is taking a crucial step towards self-sufficiency in security and industrial development. This move has the potential to boost economic growth, create jobs, and enhance national security while strengthening regional stability. Despite challenges such as infrastructure needs and geopolitical pressures, Ethiopia's commitment to defense manufacturing signals a new era of African resilience. If successful, this initiative could inspire other nations to follow suit, fostering a more self-reliant and independent Africa in military production. By investing in domestic arms production, Ethiopia and Burkina Faso are not only asserting their sovereignty, but also shaping a future where African nations control their own security needs, reducing external dependencies and strengthening continental defense capabilities. Therefore, we can clearly observe that the choice by Ethiopia and Burkina Faso to produce and export their own munitions is an assertion of sovereignty rather than merely a business or military decision. African countries have long been dependent on costly imports with political stipulations, leaving them vulnerable to international arms traffickers. However, the game is currently evolving. These countries are sending a message to the world that Africa is becoming a significant player in the global arms market and is no longer only a consumer of imported weapons by taking charge of their own defense manufacturing. But what happens next? Will more African countries follow suit and invest in their own military industries? Will Western powers attempt to push back against this newfound self-sufficiency? And could this be the beginning of a larger shift toward a more independent Africa, free from external military influence? One thing is for sure, this is just the beginning of a much bigger story. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is this a step in the right direction for Africa's future? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into global power shifts and game-changing geopolitical moves.